Well, Coach, I think at this point we're less than 5 padded practices away from Marshall. Do you feel your team's ready for some football?
We're not there yet, but like I've said, feel much better this year at this time than I did last year at this time. So we're not ready. We got some more practices. We got 7 opportunities left, and we just got to keep grinding.
And it's all Marshall install at this point?
Yeah, it's all Marshall. I mean, we got to get ready for Marshall.
In terms of the quarterback, are you prepared to announce a starter?
No.
Will you ever announce a starter publicly?
No.
No. Right.
Not going to give them any data. They'll find out game day.
Wait, since we're talking about quarterbacks, what do you like about those 3 guys? I mean, no matter who's under center, I know you're going to feel confident in your team. Why?
I think, I kind of related to the quarterbacks we've had in the past. I kind of feel like Ty reminds me of Will Worth, big kid that can throw the ball. Xavier reminds me of Malcolm, good runner. And Xavier reminds me of Ricky. I mean, all really good quarterbacks. They all bring different things to the table, and excited about all 3 of them.
In terms of injuries, are you in good shape? Have you come out of camp not too banged up?
Let me just tell you, last year we came out of camp great.
Yeah, right.
But we weren't worth the crap last year, so we're banged up because we practiced. I mean, we're in pads today. We didn't hit all camp last year, and so. But relatively speaking, Wags, I mean, we're okay. I mean, but we're injured, but there's no other way. We've tried to minimize it as best we can, but when you hit each other, things break down.
What have they impressed you with the most in practice? The thing that maybe you didn't expect, or maybe you did, but you've been impressed by it?
Scott, the thing that I recognize that we're back. Just the things that from last year, last year, like I said, I was coming right before practice. If we practiced at 4, I'd come here at 3:45 and come out of my car like a Little League coach, just coming from work to jump on the field and coach, and I'd go home. We didn't go in offices, nobody changed in the locker room. It was just completely different. I'm just impressed because we're back, and guys, it looks like Navy football.
And they've responded to being back?
Yes, most definitely. I mean, it started from actually started from winter conditioning, spring ball, off season, and camp. I couldn't be more pleased with the work ethic of our players.
Reporters always want to look at the sexy game, which is the Air Force game. You as a coach, you're not looking ahead, you're looking at Marshall. Are you able to do both a little bit?
Not really, because Marshall's so good. And if we do that, we're going to get killed by Marshall. I mean, they're picked to win their league, really good coaching staff, they're a really good football team. They got some transfers, some Power 5 transfers, and so it's going to be a tough game. And obviously the Air Force game is a huge game for our program, but if we look towards them, the first game is going to get ugly.
I know you've talked about it before, but their head coach, it's going to be his first time being a head coach. Are you able to take advantage of that?
Well, he's a good football coach. Been around some good coaches. Obviously, he was with Coach Saban, but I have a ton of respect for Coach Huff. He's going to do a great job.
Coach, I was going to ask you, you have a slight change within your coaching staff. Your son, Baha, is now on the field. Can you talk a little bit about that and why you made that move?
It's just some of the circumstances that happened in our staff, and that's kind of where we're at right now, and that's all I got to say about that right now.
Can you talk about what it's like to have your son out on the field with you between the lines on the grass?
Well, it's awesome. He's been on this field since he's been. It's kind of funny to see him on the field coaching because ever since he's been a toddler, he's been around this program. So, it's been his life. So it's kind of cool for him to be here.
And last for me, the Marshall game is being played because of the anniversary of the plane crash, and there's a connection between Navy and Marshall. It's Jack Lengel. Lengel was the first coach at Marshall following the plane crash, and then he was AD at Navy for a long time. I know you have a relationship with Jack Lengel. When you were a young assistant here, Jack was the AD. Can you talk a little bit about Jack? And I think he did something really nice for you one time.
Jack's a wonderful man. He was a great AD, well respected in our profession as a coach, as an athletic director. Him and Sandy are just wonderful people, great family, and he's been a mentor of mine in this profession. Grateful for all that he's done for us. I'll be honest though, I wish we could help celebrate him another way.
Right, yeah,
without playing Marshall. They're really.
He coached at Holy Cross.
Yeah, it is a really good football team, but it is what it is.
But didn't he do something for you when you left here the last time? Didn't he keep you on?
Yeah, he took care of me. I'll just say, I don't want to disclose but just the kindness of our heart, took care of my family, and I'll always remember that.
Coach, can you talk about leadership? I know you've even talked about this before, but you have 4 captains. Clearly, their leadership is impeccable. Every player on this team has leadership qualities, but what is it about those 4?
It's like you said, when you're a captain on this team and a leader at this school where everybody's a leader, it just shows you who you are, just the cream of the crop. You know, Cooper being the captain of captains, being voted that, what a tremendous honor. And when you're successful, your leadership always comes from within. I'm just, the head coach. But when you have great teams, it comes from them. And I couldn't be more pleased with our 4 captains and also our seniors.
What is it like having leaders at a military academy as opposed to any other college?
You get texts from them and they ask you certain things. Coach, do we do this? We got to make sure we do this. I mean, they're on top of stuff. I got a text last night from Chance about certain things. It's like, geez, I'm just barely, getting in my car and these kids have thought about stuff. They're way more advanced than me when I was their age. I mean, they're super impressive.
Anybody else have a question? I have one question, which is, you do these several days a week. A lot of times you're answering the same question for like 5-6 times. What's a question you wish we'd ask you? What do you want to talk about?
No, you guys ask great questions. I don't have it. I mean,
okay.
Hey, real quick, I bring you greetings and salutations from Coach Newberry. I talked to him on the way out. He said you guys are really close, and he sends you his best.
Thank you. I mean, also, again, another guy, even though he's at Air Force, I have tremendous respect for him. And we've stayed close since he's retired, and so it's kind of interesting. We've shared, letters. I'll write him, he'll write me. I mean, he's just a wonderful man.
We're getting down to the wire. Is your defense ready to go after the Thunder and Herd?
We're getting there. We just talked to him after practice today about not just surviving practice right now, but coming out with purpose to get better every day, approaching this week like it's a game week. So I'm not real pleased with our sense of urgency today, to be perfectly honest with you. And so we got to come out tomorrow and have a better day. And we got 3 practices left this week. We got to make sure we're getting better in each one of those practices moving forward, going into the game week.
We interviewed cornerbacks coach Robert Green the other day on a Zoom presser, and Phil asked an interesting question about who's showing you stuff, and he actually chose to focus on the defensive line. He said, our defensive line looks great, and a great D-line makes a great DB every day. Can you talk about that? I mean, that was interesting that the cornerbacks coach chose not to focus on his own unit, but wanted to highlight some defensive linemen like Biscuit and Busick and some of these other fellas.
Sure, we're progressing. Mikey's coming back from a little bit of a hamstring issue, so a lot of the younger guys are getting reps, which they need to get. And so kind of after those first 2 guys, it's a mix of guys that are continuing to get better, guys that we're still evaluating, some talented guys in that group, still some guys that need some work. Got to come around in order for us to feel comfortable about putting them in a game right now. But certainly some talent. We just got to keep developing that talent.
But in terms of up front, do you feel you have guys that'll take the pressure off those cornerbacks by not making them cover for a long time?
I do think we have that ability for sure. And obviously when we pressure, we try to bring pressure in creative ways or bring more than they can block, then that's limited time that you have to cover. So we'll pick and choose when we're taking those chances and those risks. And there's times where we're going to need 3 or 4 guys to rush and get some pressure on the quarterback as well. But I certainly think we have some guys that can do that.
So other than the obvious of Diego, who are guys that you see as pass rushers who can get quarterback hurries and quarterback sacks?
Everybody in our defense is a potential blitzer, right? We bring the corner, we bring the striker, we bring both inside backers, and we try to find creative ways to do that. But as far as just pure pass rush, Nick Straw has developed into a really good pass rusher.
He's coming off the edge pretty good.
Busick comes off the edge really, really well. Biscuit in the middle uses his quickness, so does Clay Cromwell. So we've got some guys up front, Jay Warren, that have the pass rush ability. We just got to get them in position to have success doing that.
You fully expect McMorris to be available for Marshall?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. And the safeties, I mean, obviously West and Brennan have kind of locked things down, but what about behind them? You're going to need other safeties.
Right.
Who has shown you to this point that they can be relied upon to go in a game and get the job done?
Very similar to the cornerback position, a lot of younger guys there. A lot of similarities to some of those guys that are behind those 2. I think Colin O'Connor's had a good camp. I think Rayon Lane, the freshman's had a really good camp. He's a guy that's going to play for us. Taylor Robinson's done a nice job. Josh Adams has done a nice job. So there's several guys there at safety that they're going to play for us, going to need to play for us, that have gotten a lot better, and guys that we're still working through it. To be honest with you, I told these guys today, you're still being evaluated.
Yeah.
I haven't made any game time decisions yet, and so and hopefully they're coming out and they're competing every day to try to earn that spot.
So who is in the mix for nickel and dime situations? Is it someone out of the safety group or someone out of the cornerback group?
A little bit of both. We're trying to get the best guys on the field. So when we get into our dime stuff at striker, it might be a striker, or it might be a safety, or it might be both. So we're going to move guys around to get them in the best possible position. And so when we're in third down, we're in dime. We're trying to get our speed on the field and our reliable guys. And so it could be a will linebacker, could be a striker, could be a safety.
Were you disappointed to see Tom Niumatalolo depart?
I was. Yeah, I was. I wish him all the best. Tom was a great kid, and he certainly would have helped the program, and I hate to see him go, but wish him all the best.
A bit of a surprise. I mean, you had told me just a week or so beforehand that he was looking good and running around and making plays.
Yeah, that always catches you by surprise a little bit, and Tom was such a great kid, and he was having a good camp, and great kid, and he's going to be just fine. I wish him all the best, and that's all I want to say about that.
Right, well, but as far as your depth at that position, it's now Harbor, Hodges, and what?
Well, you got Diego in there. You've got Will Harbor. You've got Hodges. Right. We've got some young guys. Fletcher's had a great camp. Okay. We've got some young freshmen that Coach Volker's rotating in and out, trying to figure that out as well. So anytime you've got a group of really talented young freshmen that are jockeying for that backup role, you'd like to have 5 or 6 guys that can go in and play for you. So we're still developing those guys, but feel good about a solid 2 deep there right now. Those guys have to be able to play both positions there, just like our safeties have to be able to play both free and bandit. And so it may be a 3-man rotation, it might be a 4-man rotation. We're still trying to figure that out.
All right, thanks, Coach.
You got it.
Just big picture, how's the D looking this year compared to this time last year?
Well, I think it's night and day. Having spring ball, and then just as much as we've gone live, gone against each other. I think Coach said we've gone against each other 500 snaps or something when you consider spring ball, and good on good snaps when you take into account spring football and fall camp. At this point last year we had 0. And so our ability to evaluate guys is totally different than it was at this point last year. We were evaluating guys going through blitz on barrels, and getting lined up and going through Skelly. And so we've been able to develop those guys in the spring, being in the weight room and with Coach Fitz and those guys this summer. They did a great job, came in really good shape. A lot of our guys have changed their bodies. They didn't have the opportunity to do that last year. So I think the answer to that is we're way ahead of it at this point.
Would you still want to improve heading into these final 2 weeks?
Everything. All right, we've got to get everything nailed down. We're still making some mental mistakes that we shouldn't be making in certain things at this point, especially with the guys that are in backup roles. And so it's important that Kevin Brennan can go down. All right, the next guy's up. Is he ready to play? You tell those guys approach it like you're going to be the starter next week. So if you don't feel comfortable, you better come find me. We better sit down a little bit. We better get you comfortable.
Diego, we haven't talked to him this fall. How's he looking? How's he as a leader out there?
Good. Diego's an outstanding leader. We've controlling a lot of these guys' reps a little bit, make sure they've got their legs under them. But he's had a really good camp. He's continuing to progress in his knowledge of the defense and knowing what everybody's doing around him, and getting everybody lined up and staying on top of everybody.
And lastly, John Kelly, just for another story we're doing, what's his character like? What's he like as a person?
Outstanding. They don't make him any better than John Kelly, and he's a guy that may be one of our most improved players, and that's a credit to his character, his work ethic, and the way he's gone about his business. But couldn't be more pleased with John Kelly and the progress he's made.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it.
Coach Ken talks a lot about sort of building men of character through this program. How does that emphasis compare to sort of what you've seen in the larger college football universe?
Well, I think as a coach, that's always kind of your first priority to do that. You want to make a difference. You want to help build that and shape that character as much as you possibly can. We just talk about it a lot here, and the good thing about this place is, a lot of that stuff's built into the academy. But we try to continue to do that, put an emphasis on that. Obviously, that's our main priority here as coaches and as leaders, is develop these guys.